call the 7th Borough Council meeting to order. As you just heard, we're being recorded via a Zoom recording. Will you please rise for the invocation? Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Secretary, will you please perform a roll call?
Tracy Burke,
Present.
Ed Huber,
Here.
Matthew Denena,
Here.
Darrell Littlefield, appears to be absent. Julie Munden, absent. Donna Rogers, present. Matthew Shawley,
Here.
Richard Walzak,
Here.
and Courtney Wampole, appears to be absent.
So Julie's on vacation. Courtney requested a freebie tonight because she's pretty busy in light of her imminent activities. And our brother Darrell Littlefield had a minor heart attack, everyone. So please keep him in your prayers. He's recovering quite well, but he's although he intended to come tonight, he's still a little exhausted. Okay, thank you, Mike. And now let's do three different motions for the 3 meetings that we had in July. Don't be shy.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to consider the minutes for July 10th, 2023, the regular Borough Council meeting.
A second. Okay, the motions by Councilors Denena and Huber for approval of the July 10th regular Borough Council work session meetings. If there are no necessary amendments, all in favor of the approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Let's go to the work session.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the July 17th, 2023 Borough Council work session meeting minutes.
I'll second. Okay, a motion by Councilors Shawley and Rogers for approval of July 17th work session meeting minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes you, Mike. And finally, the special executive session that we had on July 26th.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the July 22nd, 2023 special Borough Council meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, motions by Councilor Shawley and Denena for approval of the executive session on meeting minutes on July 26th, 2023. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mike, those 3 passed. And is there any presentation or correspondence for the evening?
I have none, but I believe they have received that.
Okay, so Indian Valley EMS. Shane, we'd love to hear from you. Sure. Please. Just for people that don't know you, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Shane Wheeler. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of VMSE, which is a parent company of Indian Valley EMS, their EMS provider. So thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I was asked to provide a brief update and the basically 6-month mark of operations, half through the year. And I've kind of run a report through the first 6 months of the operation, and happy to report it is right on track on expectations on numbers. To date, the Souderton operation, which also encompasses Franconia and Telford, has run approximately 1,184 calls over the 6-month period. Our subscription drive that we started at the end of last year into the first of this year generated $130,000 of participants. Kind of fell where we thought it would. It's really only reflective of about 5% of the total population that participated in the subscription drive. We wrapping up now a donation drive in the Indian Valley, which has netted $30,940 to help support that operation, and that was our goal, which was $30,000. So we're happy that we hit that. Thanks everybody that supported our operation. Those funds go for mostly capital improvements, sustainability kind of operations, so that we can, replace equipment as we use it. The margins are, are good. We anticipated these numbers when we started the early kind of projections. A few things we didn't account for is, some system failures surrounding us. Last month, we responded 118 times to other people's areas for ambulance responses. A great deal of those, Hilltown, Percy, and the Bucks County kind of side of the operation. That's been a little bit of a strain on our operation. We are staffing 2 ambulances out of Souderton currently, an advanced life support ambulance and a basic life support ambulance. Basic life support ambulance has kind of dual duty. It also is one of the units that we provide to run children's hospital runs on the basic level. So it kind of is just kind of a buffer, add an additional vehicle that's actually staying quite busy over here. So we have a lot going on at VMSC. We started our the first internal paramedic program. We have 10 students in that 15-month-long program. We partnered with Jefferson Health to deliver the program in-house at our headquarters in Hatfield. And that program is going very well, and they should graduate in about 6 months. So that'll give us an additional 10 paramedics. We remain strong. Currently, staffing levels, currently I think we have 118 staff, 32 of which are paramedics. So we're pretty happy with that. We're essentially full. We did get a notice from an employee who's taking a position closer to their home in Allentown. That's out of Hatfield, but we have interviews already scheduled to replace that paramedic. So happy to report there's been 0 downtime since we took the reins, and we've been up every single day, every single minute of the day since January 1st. So trying to be intimately involved in the events. I think this year total events company-wide that we supported was about 330 different events in the communities that we provide services to. I'm sure you've seen our ambulances at some of your events and some of our special support vehicles. We've bought 3 new ambulances in the last 8 months or so. One of them is actually, both of the ambulances assigned to the Souderton operation are brand new ambulances. We're rolling out some new programs. Field ultrasound is getting ready to be released on our side, so that'll give us some increased capabilities. It's a pilot program that we're working with another agency out of York County. We're partnered with, so we're going to be doing field ultrasound in the field, which gives us a little better diagnostic capabilities clinically. Those are unfunded programs, but it's improving patient care. That's what we're trying to do. And you're going to be seeing a new vehicle kind of around, and it's specifically for our, we refer to them as super users. This is our advanced paramedics that are actually in leadership roles as well, but they are clinical. So they're driving around in our medic responder type unit. It's a Chevy 2500. It's got a particular box type on the back of it. So it's got all kinds of equipment and stuff inside of that. We're working currently in a blood study to deliver, be able to administer blood in the field. So there's a whole bunch of things that we're doing. And then you'll be seeing residents. So we've signed a deal with Einstein's medical program, medical school, and we'll be receiving 3rd-year residents starting in August. So there'll actually be doctors on some of our ambulances and so forth, doing their rotations through that they're required to do. So lots happening with our organization. We're super proud to be a part of this community. We've been received very well. And I think things are going as expected. We'll have a better understanding once we have a full year in place about, sustainability and operations from that on. We have a lot of threats in the ambulance world. I'm sure if anybody has opened a newspaper up, they've seen one service closing or another service closing, another one folding here and there. And it is very challenging right now in EMS, particularly with these smaller community ambulances, just trying to keep up with all those things. So we're constantly assessing, how new legislation impacts us. We're currently watching the president's budget, because in his budget, he's included the No Surprise Act for ground ambulance, which in a sense sounds like a good idea. But what it does do for us is a huge threat to our operations and financial stability, because it would not allow us to balance bill a patient unless we upfront what we think the charges are going to be for that call ahead of time. So can you imagine having chest pain and me telling you, I'm sorry, sir, but your insurance may not cover this, and you could have a bill of up to $2,000 for this transport. I think that's really going to probably exacerbate that heart condition that they have right there, and maybe discourage people from going to the hospital. We're held completely hostage by the insurance carriers in this effect, because if we don't have agreements to provide those services with all the different health insurances that are out there, they can say, well, we only approve $100 for ambulance transports, and you can't balance bill the patient. And the burden of arbitration falls on the providers. So we would then have to arbitrate that, pay for the legal fees associated with that to get them to the table to see if we can get a fair rate for our services. So we're actively working against that legislation, against the president's budget, and hopefully that we continue to be excluded from that. If not, I think we're going to see more trouble in EMS and in the Commonwealth. And even though we're a larger provider now and a regional provider, that will certainly impact our ability to provide services. So, but at the moment, things are good, right? And we think we're making a difference. I think our response times speak for themselves. We've certainly tried to cut that in half. There are days like today when all 10 of our ambulances were engaged in traffic at the same time between 3 o'clock this afternoon and at 3:40. I think I don't even know how many calls we answered, but it was a lot. And so the demand is pretty huge on us right now. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions or anything about the operation. Yes, sir.
You commented about your statistics earlier.
Yeah.
In this area, and I think you were referring to the Souderton location where you've got 2 ambulances.
Yes,
Did you
sir.
say that for the last 6 months, you've made 1,100 plus calls?
1,184.
1,184 just for the Souderton area?
Yes, sir. Specifically in Souderton, 372 for the first 6 months of operation.
What was that, 372?
372, of which we transported 296 out of Souderton, and then we total transports were 939. So there were 1,184 requests, and we transported 939. That becomes the big gap, right? When we look at, because we're fee for service, thanks to the Reagan administration, we only get paid for what we transport. So there's no reimbursement for readiness. There's no reimbursement for responding to a call. Most insurances will not pay for just treatment on scene. So that becomes the big gap, right? Currently we really only get paid on about just over 50% of all the responses that we go on, right? So lots of challenges, whether the beneficiary gets a check first and then doesn't want to let it go, right? So happens often, where particularly like Independence, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, although we just negotiated a deal with them so that they would pay us directly instead of the beneficiary. Because if you're on a fixed income and suddenly you get a check for $1,000, I can make payments to the ambulance service, right, at $5 a month, right? So it's a business, and That's one of the shortfalls. By response alone, by what we do on the 911 side, company-wide, it only covers 86% of our cost to operate. So we have a 14% shortfall immediately out the door on just if we only had 911 response, right? So we do the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia operation, which is entirely separate with the exception of our one ambulance here in Souderton, which they allow us to be there on request within 45 minutes. It runs entirely separate. Our ambulances in Philadelphia, ambulances in King of Prussia, they only do Children's Hospital runs, and they pay us a hourly rate and payers of last resort, and we're allowed to bill the insurance. So it's a very lucrative contract that bridges that gap that we have, that 14% gap, and gets us over the top. But we still face with this year, we're trying to implement a pension program, retirement fund for our staff. We currently do not have one, right? So, we're looking at these things. Our pay is very competitive. We set the margin basically, but markets adjust, and we're starting to see that happening, right? So some of our challenges right now is how do we continue to invest in staff, where 78% of all of the revenue we make goes directly to our staff, right? And pay and various benefits. So we still are struggling with that. Cost of equipment is enormous, right? It's and just I'm sure as you guys have all seen, the economy and inflation has impacted everything that we do, right? So when I could used to buy an ambulance, in my previous roles for, $120,000 for a nice, it's now $200,000, right? Or $250,000. And then let's wait 2 years to get it, right? So we've had to adjust, buy demos and so forth. So the last 3 ambulances we bought are not spec ambulances because it takes so long to get them. They've basically been their new truck coming off the line. They're using them as demos, and they'll have 300 or 400 miles on them after they whatever, and then we just buy them right straight out so that we can put a new truck on the road. Otherwise, we would be in a much worse situation as far as replacing some of that equipment. So,
What are the questions for Chief Wheeler?
Well, I just want to say that the feedback that I've heard has been really positive. You have a presence in the community. The fact that you can rattle off those numbers is very different than what we are used to. So that's appreciated also.
sure.
I really haven't heard any negative feedback at all. So you don't have to talk about it now, but you're our emergency management coordinator might have, I don't know, but everything I've heard from the public has been great. And every event we have, Indian Valley EMS is there. So that's
We're very proud of this community, right? To me, it's personal, this community. This was one of the first this was the first big project I took on as the new chief when I came on board here, and developed great relationships with Dan and Jerry and Telford, right? And, just really being transparent. That's how we try to operate. Our books are open anytime anybody wants to see them, right? And, try to run an organization with evidence, right? And, we looked at it, we said, I think we can pull this off, right? And we can, as long as we are united within those 3 municipalities, right? If one of those municipalities fractures for whatever reason, then it becomes a real challenge. So we are there, and we're functioning, we're doing exactly as we projected. But again, why it's important for Souderton and why it's important to Telford or Franconia is because it becomes very expensive or just not available at all to communities that don't have, we certainly could not run an ambulance 24/7 on 250 calls in 6 months, right? Would not be possible, right? But on 1100, it becomes reality, right? So.
It's a shame you need to call us in a way. However, quick question, does the 5%, that's surprising to me, because maybe in Souderton, it's
Not a lot.
it's not that many subscriptions. I'm really
It's not
surprised
unusual.
how low that is. So
It's not unusual. I think a lot of that has to do where it's new, right? It's new from Indian Valley, so I think there's a learning curve, like who is Indian Valley, right?
Came out at a weird time.
Yeah, and that's kind of the schedule that the previous ambulance provider that was here had it on. It's kind of hard to change that once people get into that. The people that did subscribe, right? They don't want to then change 6 months, and so it's probably where it's at. So I think it's education, right? And we kind of had to throw it out there relatively in a short period of time, and we were pushing it out a little later than what it should have been. This was because of the merger and how things kind of played out. But I'll tell you, it's only 6% in North Penn, so you're not far off, right?
that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's your strategy for Bucks County? I mean, I know it's tough because I know you mentioned to us before that like Grandview was starting their own, so you have competitors if you would, but it sounds like they're not servicing their area.
I think every squad is challenged, particularly when you have dual roles, particularly, and I mean, I think Grandview delivers an exceptional service. They've been in our communities for a long time. But I think it becomes challenging. It's hard for everybody right now to secure staff. It's when you have a mission of trying to move patients from from your hospital, clear beds out to other hospitals, board missions and so forth. We're grateful for those relationships that we've been able to support the Bucks County's communities. Obviously, we're mandated under the law currently to respond to requests from mutual aid. We don't have a say in that. So it does become a challenge particularly when subsidy comes into question and municipalities are paying for ambulance service, and that ambulance is now leaving that municipality to go service another community who may not be paying for that, right? It's a free ride kind of scenario. But right now it seems to be working well. Our strategy is we're here to help as many people as we can. We're a business, and we're gonna, there are some discussions with other municipalities about, creating another, group of municipalities that we may be able to support, which are very close in proximity to the Souderton operation, which only then aids Souderton, right? Because then there's more ambulances in the proximity, right? So we have a system status management kind of model, a deployment model. So you're going to see my ambulances. We have an internal communication center and management center that is constantly tracking through GPS and GIS, telling us where these ambulances should be to meet an 8-minute and 59-second response time, right? Max. So you'll see my trucks moving. So suddenly I have 10 trucks up, right? 7 of them on the 911 side, right? And I said, you're at 7, everybody sits at their station, right? When we're at 5, we start moving, right? Because we can't meet the 8-minute, 59-second response time. So you'll see us moving ambulances. Even Souderton it splits the difference between Hatfield and sits in the middle, right? And then vice versa. It just kind of, everybody backs up one another, and they're constantly moving. So it's not unheard of that you might actually have an ambulance that's assigned to Montgomery Township, for example, but because of the move up and the way our system deploys, it was the closest ambulance to Souderton in the move up. It just got kicked out. It cleared a call from Grandview maybe and said, all right, go to Souderton for coverage, right? So we're constantly trying to find ways to ensure that we're getting out the door. I was talking to the fire marshal just briefly, so your times are getting much better, right? And that's part of the reason why is we're really watching how many trucks we have and where are they. Every now and then we get blasted. Like today, there was a bang up accident in Franconia, and the closest ambulance was coming out of Lansdale, right? And I was actually the first EMS person on scene. I came from our headquarters, but right. But every ambulance in the area was out. Bucks County, we all just got hammered at the same time. But, we are really thankful. And I can't say enough about the fire companies, Telford and Perseverance, and that they are fantastic. They are such a great resource that you have here. And they are always out there trying to do their best and taking care of patients when the ambulances might be delayed and so forth. We have just a great admiration for those guys. So great team effort that we have here. So
Yeah, well, thank you for your leadership, and I'd like to echo the mayor. Like, we see your people out and about a lot more than I have ever have, and their presence is excellent, and their attitude and energy level is like through the roof. I know that's a singular perspective,
Sure.
but I've heard it from numerous people as well.
No, we're trying. Obviously, we're not infallible, and if there are errors, then, please let us know. If there's things that we can improve, we absolutely want to be a community partner and try to do the very best that we can. It's what you all deserve. Right? So,
Thanks, Shane.
you're
Thanks
welcome.
so much.
If I could, I'd like to introduce Neil Brady. Neil is taking the lead on. He's our Chief Strategy Officer. He's a retired Philadelphia firefighter, paramedic, and been involved as an EMS consultant for decades. And he's a guy you're probably going to see on a more regular basis. And as far as setting our tone with municipalities, what we're doing and other activities. But I wanted to bring Neil and introduce him to you all.
Actual resident for about 38 years.
Oh, great.
And sit on a number of boards as well, so I appreciate what you're doing in the community efforts.
Yeah, thanks, and let us know when you'd like to come back for a deeper dive, maybe a little bit later in the year. We'd bring you to a work session where we could talk more informally.
Absolutely, would enjoy doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Appreciate it. We're gonna step out, so it seems like Armageddon.
Yeah.
Reposition the units.
Thank you.
Jessica. Who are
Hi,
you?
what?
Who are you?
I know. I'm Jessica Simony. I'm the manager for Souderton Connects. Okay, I have a list again. Obviously our July 3rd Friday was a huge success. I don't think anyone remembers we didn't have June because it was so nice. It was a little hot, but we were great. I was able to bring some more food trucks in for both locations on Chestnut and down in the parking lot. The parking lot usage, again, I thank you guys for passing that because this has really been proven to be such a wonderful space. The families, of course, love it, but a lot of people, I was able to put more dessert food oriented trucks down there for the kids. Chief brought his car. The kids loved the new car. They loved it, his bike. I had an ambulance company come, and then in September and October, we're going to have the fire trucks come in. So they're going to be there as well. So it's just a great place that we have that area. And now with Branch Creek open and Pepe's and the burger shop, we're really moving people up and down the street. And the vendors are really happy about that because they have seen more flow up and down and not just everyone congregating at the food trucks or up on Chestnut. So that's really nice that we have all that space. We're going to work maybe next year to do some stuff with Nate at Branch Creek and maybe bring another food truck in just to kind of keep that flow going, but that'll be for next year. I found out, and I don't know if you all know this, just a little tidbit, but Souderton was runner-up for the best downtown Main Street in Monco happenings for 2023. I don't know who knew. We, Ambler was first, but we beat out Skippack, North Wales, Collegeville, and many other things. So
Heck yeah.
I have a new goal for 2024. So that's my new thing. Then let's see, we have last meeting. I remember I told you we were looking to hire a new bookkeeper. We have hired him. He has started to transition already and should be up and running, in the next couple days. Really, we're working with him already. He's great. Our economic development is meeting in 2 weeks, but we are planning our next business bite session, and we're going to focus on filling. We're going to have a speaker come in and help fill the commercial spaces in town and work with business owners who have retail spaces and or other to really see what fills in there. I had someone ask me the other day about bringing maybe another salon in here, and I know we have a lot. So I told her, come to this session when we have it and, hear what this guy is going to talk about. So we're planning that. It should be in the next 2 months, but I'll have more for that on the next meeting. Art Jam, of course, is coming along. We're really working on that. Started a little bit later this year with planning, but I've been talking with a lot of people. I think it's going to be, there are some other fall activities happening that weekend. So, we're going to jockey for good position there, but I think it's coming along really nicely. If anybody that you all know and anyone that you know wants to volunteer, I'm always looking for volunteers, not only for that event, but our third Fridays and of course our holiday. That's a big thing that I'm really going to try and tackle in the next couple months is getting volunteers in to help, because these events and anything that we do can't happen without the help. And last but not least, this Friday morning, Steve and his crew, they're going to help us. I'm going to meet the guys down at Public Works. I'm going to have some members of Souderton Connects there, as well as our representative from Univest who sponsored the holiday tree. And we're going to do a trial run and put together the new tree. So Christmas in August, I know we're a little late, but Christmas in August, I didn't want to completely kill the guys with the heat. So we're going to put that together, but we're coming up with, Univest and I are talking with some fun social media posts that we can put together that day. It might involve some costumes and, fun posts. So look for that on Facebook and everything like that. So we can put that together and take it down. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good opportunity.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, that's all we're working on right now, but it's all coming along because the fall's really right around the corner. So we wanted to do this before it got late. So, yep, that is all I have.
Questions for Jessica?
No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. No other presentation? And any correspondence? No. All right, then. Let's go to administrative reports then, and first is the mayor.
Yes, I have a couple things a couple events happening the month of August 19th. And do you want to talk about it or do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, tickets are still on there.
Okay. Toward the library for dinner in White in Souderton Park, August 19th. When's the last day to buy tickets?
I don't know when
Oh, well, probably the day before.
Oh,
We're
the
gonna
day
show up
before,
with
yeah,
cash.
yeah.
Who knows? I don't
bigger
know.
thing is getting your white.
Yeah, right. It's fun and hot, but fun. And then August 26th, Jesse's Barbecue is having their annual fundraiser for the fire company, which is a concert and food and everything at their location. So come to both of those things. I also just wanted to give a quick recap. Dan Hauser, I think, is going to come into our September meeting. But we wrapped up Concert Sundays last night and it was really, really good. Was anybody there? Council? Well, we estimated 4,000 people in the park. Wow. Motown. It was awesome. We had they were a new group for us. And the service club helped raise a ton of money. And that was a great way to end the season, which was an exciting season all around with lots of younger bands that will be coming. We being Concert Sunday will be coming to council this winter for next season with some ideas to pitch to you all. So it's really good. It's really a good showcase at Souderton Park. The bathrooms are an enormous hit. So it's all good.
Talk a little louder.
No.
Wonder.
Concert Sundays was good. That's all.
I heard the first part of it, but toward the end, you were just kind of.
Concert Sundays was wonderful. Thank you for coming every week. That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Chief.
Mr. President, good evening. I sent out my monthly report to the board last week. I hope you're in receipt of it. For the community, we had 128 vehicle stops, 47 citations were issued. We had 14 vehicle crashes with no injuries, which was a good thing. 6 arrests with several pending. 324 public service calls. We assisted other agencies 48 times. Not only locally, we helped some out of town, some county level as well. And 370 other incidents for 884 calls, which is about 20.5 per day. Our call volume is up 29% over this time last year. We have 47 criminal arrests to date thus far. Our minor crimes are down 28. I'm sorry, our major crimes are down 28%. Our minor crimes are up 11%, which is not unusual for this time of year. I normally report on our bus patrol citations. I didn't think I'd have to over the summer, but as of 3 hours ago, I issued another citation. So we have now issued 17 citations out of 36 violations, and no one has yet to dispute them, which is good. We attended the PA Chiefs Conference, met with some vendors. We started speccing out our budgeted police vehicle for next year. Because now is the time to do it and to save some money, which obviously we want to do. We had an officer injured last month on an incident. He has fully recovered, no time was missed, and the individual who was the assaulting person is being arrested. As far as our policies and procedures go, we are now at a full 50% complete, which I'm very happy about. When we're done, we're gonna have a little over 160 policies, which seems like a lot, but it's the rules that we have to go by. So in about 7 months, we will be done that. And we will be starting the accreditation process. Our officers get tested on some of our policies. We just did one last week, which went very well. They don't like being tested, but I like testing them. Our departmental training is continuing. Actually, in September, every member of the department is going to at least one class. Some are going to 2. We are moving ahead with our planned first ever Citizens Police Academy held in September. It'll be the 20th and 21st in this room. We're going to limit the class to 25 people, 21 years of age and older to start, and I'll be asking the borough for some logistical support with that as far as advertising, registration. I don't have to do that. As Jessica mentioned, we went to Third Friday. We took our new community policing vehicle, the one that people don't think is actually a police car, but it is. It's the black and red car that says community policing on it. For those of you who haven't seen it, the rear seat and trunk are a full sound system. It shakes the ground. It's fantastic. I went over amazingly well with the public. I mean, we had conversations with people we've arrested who were impressed by it. I even had some guys talk cars, doesn't matter. I even had some members of the public come up and volunteer their time to help us. One guy wanted to increase the volume. I said no, but there is some work that needs to be done in the vehicle, and they have actually volunteered to assist us with that free of charge. So the car will be getting some free upgrades, which is always nice. I ordered and was delivered the signage for Front Street by the charter school, which Public Works was kind enough to put up for us, per the mayor's order the 90-day order that was spoken of at the work session. So those signs are now up. We'll see how well that goes. Our in-car camera systems have finally been delivered. They're actually ahead of schedule, which is nice. The install company has to contact me, but very shortly, other than the body cameras, 3 of our patrol cars will now have in-car camera systems as well, which is good for us. The Mayor said concert Sundays went very well. Took until last night for us to have any incidences. We had 2 minor incidences, which we dealt with very quickly, which was great. We tried something new last night. I had several members of the community 2 months ago request additional handicap parking spots. So with the assistance of 3 mop handles, a stapler, and some handicap signs and cones, we made 3 more spots. And that went over, it didn't cost us a penny. That went over very well. So we're going to do that next year to increase some of the parking. And we will be in the process. I talked to Mr. Holt. We're going to be getting a dumpster. Police department's going to pay for it, but we're going to get a dumpster down at the Public Works yard. We have a garage down there that's been holding abandoned bicycles since about 1970. So we're going to start clearing that out. Any bikes that are good, we're going to donate to charity, but the rest of it, we're going to go. So if anybody's lost a bike in the last 40 years, now's your time, because they're going to be going. But that'll give us a lot more room down there because we use that garage if we have to impound or search any vehicles.
That's Second Street or Cherry Lane?
Second Street. And I believe that was all I had.
Questions for Chief?
Actually, Mr. President, when you had mentioned people blowing the stop sign in the area of the street, you were absolutely correct. About 33% of the people thought that stop sign was optional. And the last time I sat there in the community policing car, we got a 911 call, someone impersonating a police officer, which was me. But at least people saw and know to call 911 to not sure if it's real cop or not. And he was subsequently cited for blowing the stop sign. So we will continue to be there, but we do have numerous problems areas in the township in the borough along the township borders, and I have a list on my desk which you'll see us doing selective enforcement at them, and we're hoping the first or second weekend in September, if the weather cooperates, we're going to finish painting our speed lines. more of a deterrent to anybody else, but as our residents know, very often speed limits are optional in the borough. We're not gonna let that happen.
How is our noise muffler patrol going on Saturdays?
We're giving a lot of warnings, to be fair. And we've got a lot of questions, particularly for motorcyclists who have just generally allowed motorcycles. And we've told them, as long as you're not being obnoxious, you're gonna be okay. It's the people who are being obnoxious, purposefully popping them in the downtown area that we're after. We've issued 3 citations. We've only gotten 1 court date so far. And we have been backing it up. Can be dicey in court, but we have ways around it. We're not the only police department doing this. So we've tapped some of their other attorneys to find out the correct verbiage to use. So it's been working so far. Obviously, we have more work to do. We have more to catch. But it's not the kind of thing, we don't pursue motorcycles just because of the safety aspect, and we don't want to throw their lives at risk for that thing. But people know it's coming. I've heard them talking about it on the street, which is nice.
Go get them.
Other questions? Thanks, Chief. Yeah, I wanted to, my comment was gonna be walking down Front Street quite a bit. That car's actually stopped recently. So maybe your impersonation as a police officer.
It was remarkable that if my numbers are right, a little over 60% were local residents. And business owners, or people who would come to the stop sign and see us wave and just roll right through them. I guess they got distracted. We did give a lot more warnings than we did citations.
Thank you. All right, then. Bob, Solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pretty quiet month for us.
Yes.
Report to them. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, I believe everybody got a full copy of my report. I'll just go through a few things that we cleaned up and still working on. The biggest numbers were in the first category, that, and this was building, you got the freight building numbers in there, and you can see that's well over 3/4 of it. So we did complete all the ready block walls are done. They're the big blocks that we were hauling in. We started the ramp, we have the footer in. So Jay is starting tomorrow to build some walls, stand up walls to pour the ramps on top. The fence, we're about 90% done. The whole back wall is completed, except for underneath the pavilion or the deck area. And we started going for the front of the building, where it's still level with the pad, and that's where the black and stop. We didn't bring that up yet. We're gonna wait till Jay gets a little more concrete work done in there. So yeah, what's up next, Jay? Starting that ramp tomorrow. He's putting the side walls up. And we'll fill that up and cap that with the ramp. We have the parking lot is staked out for putting in the Belgian curb around here. It's gonna be full-in parking coming there. I forget the number of spaces, maybe it's around 4 or 5, something like that, but that's gonna be in front of that ramp with a sidewalk in the back, similar to what's in the first ramp. Highway, we finished up our street sweeping. And we did clean the Chestnut Street parking lot before that last Thursday that came out really nice. The cars cooperated, so we were able to get all the nicks and crannies in there with the boxes and the flower bed or the tree boxes that are in there. We need to get started on brush. Right now, we have our brush truck that we use that's set up to put a box on. It's having some transmission problems. I just found out some options for them. We'll talk more like about that tomorrow. But it looks like we're going to have to go the route of putting in a rebuild transmission in our 2004 international dump truck. The biggest truck we have is not a CPL truck. That's a truck that gets used a lot for plowing and a lot of stuff. So that's an important truck with some of our options, and talking with our mechanic and the best option. We already put a little bit of money in trying to flush out the transmission and solve the problem that way, but it only worked a day. So we have a few more bigger issues in there. We're thinking we're gonna talk a little bit again tomorrow, but we got some prices coming in. We'll talk about whether we're gonna do it, rebuild transmission. That would get us back in service in about 5 days. So brush will probably happen next week. Storm sewers, we talked a little bit at work session, but we did clean out quite a few of the inlet boxes that were filled up with road debris, leaves, grass. We have a vac that can actually suck them out now that we had bought a couple years ago from Telford. That's working out really well for us. Sewer wise, we repaired a manhole and we talked about there on Main Street. That seems to be working out really well for us. And a couple of our, we got one capital project we might try and get started up a little bit in October. We do have some street paint we do that we want to touch up some lines, but we're trying to get the first phase of Garfield Avenue done, which gets us out of Fifth Street, which is a road that we need to possibly do in the paving schedule to finish the other half of that. We did the first half, the other half to do yet. So other than that, any questions? But answers.
How many of your team have CDL license?
All full time. That's a nice. Most of your step brush truck is a nice truck. It's a non-CDL truck, so summer help. So we feel comfortable with them. There's nothing to park truck around. They can use that if their park truck is down. So it's a nice truck to have. So we'll miss that for these next 5 days, but it's a very important truck.
Several days a week.
Yeah, so we decided something more like a non-home value, but I got a few more places to look at, so. Once we evaluate that, we'll order it to be in 3 days, and today or do the job.
Sure.
We will take it in there, put that back. Do it, we'll be right at Coopers.
Yeah, and the work over the break building looks great.
Yeah.
So it's coming along nicely.
There was some change, it was changed with that wall in the front, but I think that changed it better.
That's
Ready block was only going to come around there about 15 feet and stop.
Okay.
So we took it down all the way to the edge of the level platform underneath the overhang roof. So we changed that a little bit. That's where the ramp starts now, where the ready block stops. So a little bit cleaner, nicer.
Does this go straight in front of the building or does it?
So where the
90
blocks
Right,
stop, that's
right.
where the first ramp down, and it goes to a landing just in front of that double window.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Makes a hard view.
argue and comes back.
That's a long gradual ramp that's about 32 feet long that touches into it's a landing. It kind of mixes it with the same landing for the handicap parking,
Sure.
that end of the pool. So it looks like it's coming together.
Yeah, Mayor and I were getting a kick out of the cylinders that you were drilling in for the fence. The cores you were removing, that was pretty cool.
That's a well-used tool. We bought that when we did the pool for all that fencing over there, and it's really coming in handy for a lot of other projects.
Any other questions for Steve?
Thank you for taking a couple minutes out of that busy schedule to help me write the mayor's memo.
I didn't write all those words again. I came up pretty good.
I asked the guy to give me a picture and a bio, and they're so modest that none of them wanted to Steve had to do all. But it turned out good. I did.
It's good.
Anything coherent, the mayor could use it. Okay, last but not least, the manager.
As far as the meeting schedule is concerned, tomorrow evening, the zoning hearing board will be meeting at 7 o'clock to consider a variance application for 150 South Front Street and the Powerhouse Soccer, who was here at last Borough Council meeting. We actually did just today receive another variance application concerning property at 650 East Broad Street. That's the former doctor's office at the top of Main Street. They were before the planning commission several months ago with a mixed use redevelopment of that site. They will need certain variances to, in order to move the project forward, so, they more than likely will be appearing before the zoning hearing board on September 12th. So, this is, tomorrow night will be the first zoning variance application for the year. And now we got another one now scheduled for September. The Borough Council work session will be held on Monday, August 21st. Moving into September, with the Labor Day holiday, Borough Council meeting will be on the second Monday, that'll be September 11th. Planning Commission will be meeting September 6th. Like I say, I do expect that the zoning hearing board will be meeting in September on the 12th. Work session will then be the third Monday in September. So, pretty much the meeting schedule. The Saturn pool will be open through Labor Day, and then we'll be closing for the season at that point. As far as the agenda for this evening, there is only one item, a rather expensive item, but we did receive two bids for a rather comprehensive road paving contract. We do have a number of streets that were selected for paving. South Front Street, the entire run from Broad all the way out to Cherry Lane, although the gas company did do a little bit of paving out by the ball fields. We have section of Mifflin Street, Madison and Highland down in the first ward scheduled. And up at the third ward, we're looking at milling and overlaying West Street and West Walnut Street. That was actually a subject of a recent water main replacement project. I was hoping to attract more bidders, but I do know that H&K, Reading, they are all booked with PennDOT projects. PennDOT's doing a lot of paving this year too. So all the bigger contractors, even Allen Myers, are all booked with state work. But we did receive a rather competitive bid for the market right now from Gorcon. We have used Gorcon in the past. Most recently, they did the Railroad Avenue parking lot project. But they also did a comprehensive road paving project for us several years back. So their total bid was $278,314.66 to do all the roads that were mentioned. And the next bid that we received was just shy of $328,000. The project would be financed through liquid fuels, which is monies we've received from the state gasoline taxes. Currently, we have about $334,000 in that account, so we will still have $50,000 left in the account to get us through the remainder of 2023. So our recommendation would be to move forward with that contract, with work contract. We do need to have that contract completed no later than October 31st by PennDOT regulation. And that's everything I have.
Can you repeat that date?
October 31st is the
This year.
The state will not allow municipalities to pay with liquid fuels money after October 31st.
Council, I realize you may have a few questions, but we can do a point of inquiry when we do, a motion. Or, we can discuss it and get any additional insight you might need at that time. Because I want to just look at the time on and, make sure we have adequate time for committee reports and the, public comment. Okay, Mike, anything else?
That's it for now.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, let's go on to committee reports.
So other two, public safety, we're working on the, working with the fire department, police department. We got some revisions we think we want to make to the, smoke and fire pit, the fire pit ordinance. Introducing potentially acknowledging like smokeless fire pits exist and things like that. So we're reviewing that, getting opinions before we make any adjustments, but we expect to have that brought forward, hopefully by work session, and then be talking about it in September ahead of the fall. People will be wanting to have some fires, which was a promise we made. And then just on the website, we're still, we pay out in October for that.
Did you make a promise?
I did make a promise. Yeah. Be here in advance.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, and the website will be, hopefully, we'll have that up and available before we would renew our membership, but we gotta work with the borough staff to launch that smoothly.
When does the contract end?
I think we paid in October, if I'm not mistaken, so we wanna try and get it done this month, show it in September, so that we feel very good about not. And it's been a little bit since the borough staff has seen that and been involved, so we want to re-engage that conversation, so we'll do that soon.
Gotcha. Thank you, Matt. Anyone else?
Parks committee, we met with Bennington, kind of a mid-year review. So, not many complaints this year, so I think everybody's pretty happy. Snack stand, most people are happy. There's always some that are not, but. So I think this year is a lot better. We're doing a lot better than last year. So we're probably gonna meet with Bennington one more time at the end of the season.
They definitely have their act together this year. With communication and the staff that they're putting at the pool has been very well.
And no reason to believe we can't continue that the next year, because if we were to start over, then
Based on the way it's going this year, I think we would be comfortable if we wanted to keep them for next season. So
Okay.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ed. All right, then, there are no others. I have one from the executive committee. I think, we've announced this, so everyone should know it's on the website, but we will have an imminent, resignation from Borough Council. And, we don't have that physical resignation yet, and we will need to, for council, we'll need to make a public motion on that. So, I mean, I do expect it within the next couple of weeks. However, we won't be able to officially accept it until the September 11th. So the only change in the gross plan that I laid out when I first got wind of it is that we will not interview any interested parties until the September 18th work session. That'll be the plan for now, okay? All right. So if there are no other committee reports, let's pay the bills, and I'll take that as one motion, please.
You got it.
both together.
Yes,
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the bills for the month of July 2023 and to pay the recurring bills for August 2023.
I'll second that.
all right, I have motions by Vice President Huber and Councilor Shally for approval of the bills for the month of July, as well as approval to pay the recurring bills for the month of August 2023. I don't think we're going to debate on this, so all in favor of paying those, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mike, that's unanimous. All right. Now the most my most favorite time, I thought about allowing you guys to go early, hearing the thunder as Lucy mentioned, but I'll like to open it up for public comment. So if you're a borough resident, property owner, business owner, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and we'd love to hear from you. Jeff? Come on, Jeff.
Great job.
I want to see how you do on that side.
Mr. President, Council. Thank you. My name is David Turner. I have recently moved to 557 East Broad Street. I'm here to address the egregious speeding. I'm just going to read a statement to keep my thoughts in track because that was all.
Sure.
Um,
May the manager have your statement when we're done?
Absolutely. I actually brought copies.
Thank you.
I'm here to address the egregious speeding on East Broad Street. I've lived in a lot of places in my lifetime. I have never seen such dangerous conditions in the streets of a small borough. From 18-wheelers, SEPTA buses, quarry dump trucks to the average car traveling on the roads, the speeds are excessive to say the least. Some vehicles I estimate in reaching 50, sometimes 60 miles an hour. Trying to park, get out of your car or cross the street, you're taking your life into your own hands. The day I moved in, I saw my neighbor's 12-year-old child almost get hit trying to cross the street. A car came down the hill from Township Line Road driving extremely fast, which is a regular occurrence coming down that hill. I sit on my porch and I watch traffic fly by on 18-wheelers and large dump trucks making the ground shake because they are driving so fast. I recently was reading an article in the Reporter in 2019, speaking of signs placed on Washington Avenue, and reflected they were making a difference, which I have watched and experienced myself. There's a quote from an article in that where the board member saying, "We have been talking about controlling speeding in this borough for as long as I can remember. Can we please stop talking about it and take some action and try and rectify the problem?" We all know how it goes. God forbid there is a tragedy and there will be flashing lights, police presence, speed limits everywhere. Please do not let the tragedy have to happen in order to promptly address this issue. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to your anticipated cooperation. Thank you.
Yeah, we take that extremely seriously. That doesn't fall on deaf ears. PA 113 is the street that you live on, so it's hard, if not impossible, to control everybody. But I lived on Main Street, now I live on Broad Street. He lives on Broad Street. We get it. We did those same flashing lights that you read about on Washington Avenue in 2019. We did put in right near, somewhere near your
Right
house.
up from you on 5 acres on Broad, and then down closer to my house. So there are a few of us in the room that live in that same neck of the woods.
Somebody from EMS or fire.
Yeah, they're helping. We know, we've heard from Souderton Connects and consultants previously that the number one thing that we could do to improve downtown walkability is traffic control. And we know it's an issue. We've had a concerted effort with the chief of public works. We're slowly, we don't necessarily believe that the answer to the signs. Obviously, people are disobeying. It's tough coming down the hill on your side to do 25. You almost have to ride the brake a little bit. And we know PennDOT has the rumble strip right in the middle, so that adds to the noise and reverberation that you're experiencing. But yeah, I agree with the mayor. We are all hands on deck. You heard me mention, some other streets, but we're stepping up the efforts. I personally thank you for having the courage to come up. I know it takes a lot, to do that, but we need to hear from you and others on this because, I have a son that's had two cars totaled on the street. And so with that. And it's something near and dear to all the hearts, and
I understand it's not simple.
It's a work in progress. How long have you lived there, by the way?
3 months.
Okay,
But I'm familiar with Souder. I've lived in Bucks County for the last 29 years.
gotcha.
I'm very familiar with
Yeah, well, we'll be in touch. Like a regular visit. We'll be in touch. We have your information and thanks for your feedback. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then, I will close the public comments section and you guys know you can always reach us, you can find our emails on the website. But let's move forward to the final business of the evening, which is the road reconstruction as Mike laid out. So, do I have a couple counselors that have read the preparatory material and can perhaps give me a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the contract for the 2023 road reconstruction projects to Gorcon Incorporated of Chalfont, Pennsylvania, with a total base contract price of $278,000, $314.66.
Exactly. Okay, so I have motions by Councilor Huber and seconded by Councilor Rogers for awarding the contract for 2023 road reconstruction project. I'll have to regurgitate that in just a second. So let me, not debate per se, but again, I alluded earlier that some of you may have some questions. So let me just open up a blanket point of inquiry for the manager who's more familiar with both the RFQs that went out, RFP and the subsequent responses. So any questions for Mike?
My question for Walnut and West Street. Why did we stop at Green? Why did we not go across the intersection of Green? Because there's a large,
We certainly can. We're just mainly doing streets from point A to point B, but we could in the field extend that slightly at the unit prices. Into the intersection.
yeah,
It's-
right. But yeah, let's do that because that intersection has a low spot from a manhole repair. I think that's been there we're probably looking at 10 years. I drive through it frequently and all the neighbors that live in that area go through it too. I just find it interesting that we stopped on the other side of the road and didn't come across and include that.
We can address it either way. We can either work with this contractor or we can come back with our other contractor, which would be a little bit cheaper and deal with it then.
Well, I'll leave the expense up to you, but I'm just wanting to get it repaired.
All right. Because depending on what the conditions are, maybe the bigger milling machine would not be feasible to do a very small section. So we may want to address it in another fashion, but I'll discuss it with Steve.
Okay, because I'm expecting you've got the equipment there. It makes sense to do it while it's there.
That was a repair to a 10-inch sewer main. It was a very sloppy hole, wet hole, so
Yeah.
we're letting that set a little bit, but it's ready for the base top of there. Yeah,
It's-
sewer main issue there.
Yeah,
And it's been there for several years, right?
Maybe fine.
yeah, we have the unit pricing, so we can talk to the contractor and
Okay,
potentially add.
yeah, please add it.
So Mike, what flexibility is there? I understand you've got like great regulation with the state and the use of the fund, but what flexibility is to swap out potentially some of the jobs or if it's not specifically on this list, particularly since you have the unit pricing?
It's got to be specific to the jobs.
Well, the reason I asked, I mean, the disparity between the bids, you know, everyone can see that. I mean, we know it's whatever, $50,000, almost $60,000, but I think when we sent the RFP out, for example, one of the sections of South Front Street all the way to Cherry Lane, and they were the water authority or gas was coming through there.
Gas,
So they hadn't paved the one side of front. And so I don't know how to interpret this because I don't know what the, almost 4,000 square feet mean, but as an example, they say that they want to mill the entire area, but I would suggest half of the road from Cherry down to.
we have the unit pricing there, so we could adjust in the field and,
So
add on to just one.
that's my question. Then the other piece, I'm not sure, Steve, maybe you might know, when they paved it, it came out pretty nice, like we're on the side where the ball fields are. But I don't remember them milling it.
Yeah.
They
They
did.
do an inch and a half, same as what we're doing.
Oh, they did, no, mention
Yeah,
that.
we did this same thing on Second Street.
My only hesitation was saying we won't do it is because I don't know how the crown and the grade work, so.
I know,
The gas company went in strictly to middle off and just restore where the trench was, but. We could potentially leave that in place as long as the crown and the grades work. I don't know.
I got you. So great point. So there's things that we might not understand, but I think we have a fiduciary responsibility to not just needlessly.
Steve and I talked about that,
Mill all
that if
that.
we can salvage that, we might just to try to save some money, and that would actually help extending into the intersection on the other.
Yeah,
Qualcomm was one of the ones that had called and asked some questions, and that was one of them. When he came down to see, he saw it was pavement, but that like, he got half paved there, but he did the unit price. Not the year.
So that's why we had block by block and unit prices for each block, so
well,
we could adjust that.
that's what I think. There should be allowance. I think it's disappointing with the state regulators that they want to be so exact. Well, in which case, the one on Mifflin Street from West Broad to Highland, I think they changed the milling from $3.30 per square yard to $3.19 per square yard. I'm sure that's a typo.
Not necessarily, the surfaces are a little bit different. There's probably not quite as much to mill off,
Not as many utilities in the way.
so that.
Oh, it is, and it is on
Yeah,
West Broad.
If you see what Gorcon did a little bit more, they definitely went out in the field and evaluated each
Okay.
street and came up with a number where the other bidder did not. The other bidder followed pretty much a boilerplate where they feel they need to be, because all of their milling and paving prices were consistent.
Gotcha. Then final question for me then. So we have $278,000 bid, and that leaves us 60,000 left out. So we need to use up all of the liquid fuel funds.
You don't need to.
No, we don't.
We did not pay last year, so we created, or we had quite a bit of a cash balance going.
But is that a use it or lose it?
No.
No, okay, good. All right. Any other questions for Mike? All right, then, hearing no additional debate and no amendments, I have motions by Councilors Huber and Rogers to award the contract for 2023 road reconstruction projects to Borcon Incorporated of Chalfont, Pennsylvania, with a total base contract price of $278,314.66. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there you go, Mike, thank you very much, and this concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for coming.